नारायण 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 जानकी वल्लभ नारायण जानकी वल्लभ नारायण हे माधव हे केशव 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 नारायण नारायण जानकी वल्लभ नारायण 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 जानकी वल्लभ नारायण 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 जानकी वल्लभ नारायण जानकी वल्लभ नारायण 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 जानकी वल्लभ नारायण हे माधव हे केशव हे माधव हे केशव हे माधव हे केशव हे माधव हे केशव नारायण 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 जानकी वल्लभ नारायण नारायण जानकी वल्लभ नारायण नारायण जानकी वल्लभ जानकी वल्लभ नारायण सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु
Welcome to Satsang. We'll start as always with a question that's come to us in advance, and then open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. How do I find a guru? So first of all, before we talk about how do I find a guru, we should talk about why might I want to find a guru? What is the point? Why do you even need a guru? So in the West, the concept of a guru in the West is something very, very difficult for a lot of people from the West to really digest, because we are born and raised with such a sense of individuality, of do-it-yourselfness, of it's all up to you, never surrender, never, just the whole culture is one of assertiveness. I remember actually being on an airplane with Puja Swamiji maybe 21, 22 years ago in the beginning when I had first come. And we were in the United States on an airplane, and he was looking at the magazine that was in the pocket of the seat in front of him on the plane. And he was flipping through it, and there was an advertisement for an assertiveness training workshop. And he turned to me and he said, assertiveness training? He said, people actually pay money to learn how to get their own needs met, how to, stand up for what they want. I said, yeah, it's a big thing around here. And he said, that's so sad. He said, because what the world needs is not more assertiveness. What we need is more adaptiveness. And we'll come back to this, otherwise I'll get diverted onto that topic of assertiveness and adaptiveness. We'll come back to that in a moment. But he said, we don't need that. We need to be adaptive. Rather than focusing on just what I want, when I want, how I want it, get my needs met. Rather than that, we need to focus on how we can adapt. And I mentioned this when we're speaking about a guru, because in the West, that sense is so much, it's about me, it's up to me, it's all about what I'm getting, what's in it for me, where are my needs, and that's really what we are schooled in and indoctrinated in many, many ways. And so the idea of a guru is very, very difficult for a lot of people from the West, because it feels like the ultimate sort of failure of I've surrendered, and surrender is synonymous, again, tragically, in the West, it's synonymous with giving up. If we're playing soccer, and I know I'm losing, or football as you call it, and I know I'm losing, that I'm weak, and you keep making goals, I'm not making any goals, I'm not doing anything. I might surrender, meaning, okay, I give up, you win, stop humiliating me. And so in the West, we actually identify the concept of surrender as failure, as loss. Whereas in India, we understand that surrendering a football game because you're losing is a completely different concept. And the Sanskrit words are even different. It's just that in English, they're both translated as surrender. But it's a completely different concept than, in humility, I recognize how much I don't know. I recognize the darkness that I'm living in. And I recognize that through you, I will get light. And I don't want to live in darkness anymore. I don't want to be arrogant and assertive in my darkness. I want to be humble and bowed and connected to the divine in my light. There's a great saying in Hindi that Puja Swamiji always says. He says, Jukta to wo hai. I'll give it in English in a minute, but it works much better in Hindi. It says, Jukta to wo hai, jisme jaan hoti hai. Akar to murde ka pachan hota hai. And what it means is the one who bends is the one who's actually still alive. That which is unbendable is what we call a corpse. Like when you become unbendable, it's because your body has, hit rigor mortis. You're dead. You're a corpse, body unbendable. The body that bends is the body that is alive and full of life. So the surrender, the bending of the ego is seen as the sign of life. And also the only way to bring in the light. So that's on a quick foundation of moving into the idea of surrender to a guru. Is I've done it my way. I've been rigid and I've become that corpse. I've been rigid, I've been assertive, I've been focused on me, mine, what I want, my way, my needs, my this, my that. I've thought it's all about me. And I feel like I've died. There's no more life left in me. Yeah, I may have gotten my way. I may have gotten my needs met. I may have gotten people to do what I want. But inside me, there actually isn't any happiness. There isn't any peace. There isn't any joy. I've gotten all the things that I thought I wanted from being assertive. But here I am joyless. And so I need another way. I've done that. I need something else. And so the guru, literally in Sanskrit, the word guru means the one who removes the darkness and brings the light. Now, again, going back to the Western concept for a moment, in the West, a lot of us move through the world with this belief that we are dark inside, that there's something in us that is just wrong. Whether it's wrong from birth, like who we are is wrong, or we've made so many bad choices that we are forever defiled. We are forever tainted. We are forever impure. We are forever not good enough. And so we think of that darkness as being who we are. But in the Indian spiritual tradition, it's really clear. The core of who you are is pure and light. Doesn't matter what you've done. Any number of mistakes you may have done. Doesn't matter. Core of who you are, pure, light, divine. But we've been shrouded in ignorance. And in that ignorance of who we are, we make mistakes. We commit sins. We act out of greed, out of lust, out of ego, out of arrogance, out of so many different things. And out of those actions, we get bitter fruits that we've been speaking about the last few nights with regard to karma. So the guru is the one who removes that darkness of ignorance and brings the light of truth. So it's not that the guru makes you pure. You're already pure. It's not that the guru turns your badness into rightness. You're already right. It's that the guru gives you the light to see your purity, to see your rightness, to see the truth of who you are, to see the path you're supposed to walk. And so that's the darkness to light that the Guru gives. And then, of course, coming back to the question, how do I find a Guru? You become a disciple who really is yearning for a Guru, who's really yearning for light, not who's yearning for someone to give the magic mantra that you're going to get, the highest paying job that you've always wanted, not the magic mantra that your kids are going to get into the university they want to go to, or going to get A's on exams, or going to get the job they want, or not that magic wand. Not that vending machine that, we go to the Guru and we do our puja, do our prayers, and now the Guru should give us what we want, like we've pushed a button on a vending machine. Not that. But what the Guru gives is light. And so we go to the Guru with that desire for light, with that yearning for light. And that's how you find the Guru. There's no Guru shopping center, Guru catalog. I'm sure there are lists online somewhere. There's lists of everything. There's probably a list of, enlightened masters or something. But the list is going to be compiled by someone who, when you think about it, instead of living in light, of actually having been in the presence of a Guru, has decided that what I'm going to do is start rating enlightened masters and start compiling lists. And so anything like that, one always has to be a little bit wary about. But so you can't go to a shopping center, you can't go online, you can't go to a catalog. How do you find one? Well, the first and most important is just you become the right disciple. And you have faith. You have faith that the Guru will find you. That doesn't mean the Guru's going to knock on your door and say, "Where have you been my whole life?" It doesn't mean that when you find the Guru's going to... we all have this romanticized idea that I'm going to find the Guru and sit there and there'll be 100 people and the Guru's going to see me from across the crowded room and say, "Ah, you, the one I've been waiting for. Where have you been all my life? You." We've got these very romanticized ideas. Not how it happens. But the power of the Guru is such that it will bring you to them. And you will find yourself in the presence of the Guru. And now it's up to you. Do you allow yourself to recognize it? Do you allow yourself to feel it? Or is the ego so threatened by the idea of a Guru that it can't let you accept that? And this is where it's so important to recognize the need to not let the ego drive your car, to not let the ego be in the driver's seat, be the one making the decisions. Because the ego is always going to steer you in the direction in which it's in charge. And the ego doesn't like anybody else to be in charge. And so the idea of surrendering to a Guru is something that makes the ego very worried. And so be aware that the ego is going to play all sorts of games when you get in the presence of the Guru. And don't let that bother you, but don't let it distract you either. The last part of this that's important, of course, is when you're in the presence of the Guru, how do you know that that Guru is the right Guru? Maybe you come to a holy place like Rishikesh, you go to a holy place like Varanasi, you go to a place where, you go to the Kumbh Mela, there's so many different masters, so many camps, so many ashrams, you're with them, you feel that presence of divinity with so many. How do you know? And the truth is there isn't feeling inside. In Hindi they say kuch kuch hota hai. there's that kuch that happens to you inside, in which you feel like you are in the presence, not just of a charismatic leader. And that's a really important thing to steer clear of. There's a lot of charismatic leaders who are not enlightened masters, who are not people who should be gurus, but because they are charismatic, and because charismatic people tend to attract followers, you may find them with lots of followers, but trust your own heart. Your own heart really knows when it's in the presence of someone who is bringing you light. But just make sure that it's your light the guru is showing you. Because when it's just a charismatic leader, what you find is that the guru is focusing all the light on themselves. And it becomes all about, look at me. Aren't I so great? It's the spotlight only on the guru. The light of the guru is one that shows you your light. So if in the presence of the guru you feel like you're standing in the presence of someone with a spotlight on them, that may not be the right guru, even though there may be a lot of light on them. What you're looking for is someone in whose presence you feel a spotlight on your own heart. You feel a spotlight on your own soul. You feel a spotlight on your own existence. That suddenly you are light and you can see and you can experience your own light. And suddenly you don't feel shrouded in darkness. Suddenly you're able to understand, yeah, I made mistakes, but I'm still light. Yeah, I went astray, but I'm still light. Yeah, maybe this happened or that happened or I had this trouble, but I'm still light. And that's the light that the guru gives. So when you find that you're in the presence of someone who makes your inner light glow, that in their presence you feel the light of yourself, that's probably your guru. And just realize that we're all already a slave. You know, people say, well, I don't want to be a slave to a guru. I don't want to surrender. And so the first piece to remember is we're already slaves. We're slaves to our egos. We're slaves to our desires. We're slaves to our fears. We're slaves to our programming from childhood that tells us who we are and how the world is. We're already slaves to that. We're slaves to our tongues. We're slaves to our thoughts. We're slaves to all of our desires. We're also slaves to the cultural marketing around us that says, here is what you should be, here is how you should live, here's what you should look like. Anybody who has ever bought a beauty product, fairness cream, tanning cream, weight loss pills, hair curlers, hair straighteners, anybody who's ever bought any of those things and anything else in between, we're already slaves. We're slaves to a culture that says you're not the right shade of skin, you're not the right weight, you're not the right height, you don't look the right way. Anybody who's ever bought something that they didn't need because they saw an advertisement for it, or because the person in the advertisement, the model wearing it, looked so beautiful, so happy, so peaceful, had what we wanted, that we thought, I'll buy that, then I'll look like that, I'll be happy like that. We're already slaves to that marketing. And I mention that not to make us feel bad, but just to make us realize that we've already given away our power. It's not like we're saying, go from a place of having complete autonomy over your life to a place in which you've surrendered to a guru. It's saying go from a place in which you've surrendered to those things that do not have your best interest at heart. Whether it's your ego, whether it's your fears, whether it's your childhood conditioning, whether it's marketing and advertising, none of those has your best interest at heart. And so we're simply shifting from a surrender to powers that have no interest in our growth, no interest in our awakening, no interest in our spiritual unfolding, into someone who does. Someone whose only agenda is that I should be able to see my light. Whose only agenda is that I should be of service to the universe, that I should be able to use this life, not waste it, serve. So if you had to choose between who you're going to bow down to, right? But the other last important piece is we're not actually becoming slaves of the guru. Good gurus, real enlightened masters, are not turning us into slaves, but rather they're showing us light and then letting us make whatever decision we want. Like at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, when Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, after 600 and plus verses, almost 700 verses, says to Arjuna, all right, I've shown you everything. I've told you everything. I've taught you everything. Do whatever you want. Choice is yours. And of course Arjuna says, I will do whatever you say. Karishye vachanam tava. I will do whatever you say. In the same way, the gurus show the light. But they don't force us to walk it. Because they understand we've got a lot of time. If not this life, next life. If not today, tomorrow. You know, they may certainly encourage us. Come on, this life, you're losing time, you know. But they understand, well, all right. If you don't get it this life, you'll get it next life. If not next life, the life after. If you're not in a rush, why should I be in a rush? So it's not actually about giving up your autonomy. It's about the difference between walking through the forest in the dark versus walking through the forest in the light. Once you can see the path, you still have a choice of whether you want to follow it or not. Simply seeing the path doesn't mean you're going to take it. You may still decide, I'm going to wander over here and get lost. Yeah, I saw the path. Yeah, that really nice man or woman showed me the path, but I've decided I'm going to get lost over here instead. You still have that choice. But the guru shows us the light. And beautifully also removes that part of us that is attached and addicted to our darkness. And so what you find when you really do surrender to the guru is not only does the guru show you the light, but you find that you follow it. Because all of that within you that used to fight against light, that used to rebel against light, that used to be attached and addicted to being lost in the woods, because it was so much more dramatic, because it enabled you to act out all kinds of patterns that were there from early in this life or past lives. We're no longer attached to that. We're no longer attached to the drama. We're no longer attached to the stories and identities. And so we actually become able to walk in the light. So that's why we have a guru. And have faith. If you really want one and you're really ready for one, the guru will draw you to him or her. You'll find yourself in their presence. Physically in their presence, or you'll find yourself in a bookstore and suddenly literally a book lands on your head. It's the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna or something. Ah, all right, I guess he wants me. So just have faith. Become that good disciple and know that the Guru is going to draw you there. So before taking any other questions that have come in advance, I'm happy to open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. Yeah.
I need excuse for asking this question.
That's okay, no problem.
You said you should have faith in the Guru. I did have faith in one Guru, but as you know, in India, a lot of things have happened in the recent past.
Yes.
And the person whom I thought is leading me to life came under very heavy, criticism.
Yes, of course.
That we perform. Now, is there any signal that you get? I mean, that is precisely the question. I mean, how do I find the Guru? How do I know this man is really leading me to life?
Okay, great question. So, tragically, not everyone claiming to be an enlightened master, claiming to be a guru, is actually fully enlightened. And we do sometimes see, and tragically the media loves this stuff, as you can imagine. And so you may have in this country, I don't know how many, but my guess is there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of religious leaders today who really are living the light. And out of those, in a period of 10 years, maybe 4, 5, 6 of them, and tragically, of course, it's always the famous ones, fall under a scandal. They give in to greed or lust or anger or something, and a scandal blows up. So first of all, what you have to realize is that even though it's tragic and even though it should never happen, I mean, every single person who wears the clothes of a renunciant, who wears this color, should be someone who understands their responsibility to the Dharma. Because we, of course, we don't just represent our lineage. I mean, I don't just represent Parmarth Nikatan. I don't just represent Puja Swamiji. I represent the Dharma. People see this color and they know, Sanatan Dharma, the Dharma. And if you give in to the lust, the greed, the anger, the jealousy, whatever it is that leads people astray into these scandals, what ends up happening is people's faith is shaken, not only in that particular guru, but actually in the entire Dharma. And so what you see really tragically whenever any of these scandals happen is that not only are the disciples of that particular master devastated, but everyone's devastated because they represent the Dharma. And so the first piece is, of course, it's absolutely essential, of course, for any leader. And by the way, this pertains not only to religious renunciants. It pertains to anyone who is a teacher of an aspect of Dharma. It pertains to yoga teachers. It pertains to meditation teachers. It pertains to Vedanta teachers. It pertains to anyone who people go to get not just a teaching, because these days you can get teachings online. If all people wanted was to learn how to do asanas or to learn something about Vedanta, they'd go to YouTube. They'd go to Google. I mean, really, why get in a car and drive? Why pay somebody money? Why do anything? Yeah, everything's on YouTube. If you're showing up in a yoga class, in a meditation class, in a Vedanta class, in obviously a religious context, but even not a religious context, you're showing up because you want something more than just a teaching. You want a touch. And what that means is that the person sitting up there as the teacher of that has a responsibility to embody whatever they're teaching. If you're only an aerobics instructor or a fitness instructor, you just have to be fit. But if you're teaching spirituality, you actually have to embody that. And so it's a responsibility, I think, that spans a spectrum much wider even than just the official gurus, renunciants, saints, sages, etc. But then, so what to do when there is a scandal, as you say? How do you know if someone's not right? Well, it's difficult. As I said, some of the ways to know are which direction is the light facing. Because someone who is pointing light to themselves is someone who, chances are, hasn't actually really done the work with their own ego. And if they haven't done the work with their own ego, then if not today or tomorrow, certainly by the day after, something's going to happen with their ego that's going to blow up into a scandal. So be careful of which direction the guru is pointing the light. Is it on themselves or is it on you? Another thing to be careful of is how attached is the guru to having people come to them. The real enlightened masters are not interested at all in whether people come. They sit, they give darshan, they give satsang, they give blessing because that is their dharma, their duty. But if nobody shows up, they're very happy. I mean, Puja Swamiji would be very happy to just keep meditating if no one showed up. People show up, no problem. He understands this is what he's on earth to do. He'll give the blessings, he'll give the guidance. But agar koi nahi hota, he's very happy कि चलो ध्यान में बैठे, चलो jungle में जाओ. He's only come from the jungle for us. If nobody needs him, he would be very happy to go back and live in the jungle. So pay attention to whether the guru is trying to collect disciples and is really attached to having disciples. You want to leave and the guru says, no, 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 I'm the only one for you, you must stay. That would cause me to worry. But the last important piece of this is that I very deeply believe that the divine universe sometimes sends perfect teachings through imperfect masters. And just because the vessel was imperfect doesn't mean that you should doubt the teachings. The teachings may absolutely be very pure and very beneficial for you just because the vessel wasn't. And so don't start to doubt if the teachings benefited you. If the teachings helped you, if you felt like you were living in the light, keep using them. Just because you don't bow down at that teacher anymore, just because you don't have faith in that vessel anymore, that's okay. But for that period of time, the universe was sending perfect teachings, or beneficial for you teachings, perfect for you teachings, through a master, through a vessel who was not perfect. And that happens sometimes. I think God is very, very compassionate and doesn't necessarily require perfection in a vessel in order to send down perfect teachings. I think God's agenda is that we all should get the teachings, and there's so few vessels who really are perfect that God is very compassionate and sends these perfect teachings even through imperfect vessels. So if the teachings benefited you, keep using them, keep applying them. Don't feel like just because the master was not perfect, that the teachings now are ones that I shouldn't use or I should throw out. If you were seeing the light in those teachings, keep using them. There's a great story actually of a guru who was not an enlightened guru. But he had a disciple who was very devoted. And the guru still had his ego, still had so much, not a perfect guru at all. But this disciple was so devoted, and one day the disciple goes to the guru and says, I wanna walk on water. Give me the mantra. I know you can do it. You are so powerful. You are all powerful. Give me the mantra that will make me walk on water. Now the guru of course knows ki uska bas ka nahi hai. But how to tell his disciple? So he can't tell his disciple. He doesn't want that his disciple should find out ki I'm not enlightened and perfect. So he takes a leaf and he writes on the leaf something. And he gives it to his disciple. And he says to the disciple, I have written my own name in this leaf. You hold this leaf with my name, your guru's name, and you just keep chanting my name. And you will be able to walk on water. So my name is in your hands, my name is on your lips, and just go out there, you will be able to do it. So the disciple's very excited. He goes, comes back a few months later, and he bows at the Guru's feet. He says, oh my God, Gurudev, you are so powerful. You are everything. It worked. I could walk on water just taking your name. Chanting your name made me walk on water. So now the Guru starts to think, acha, shayad matlab, I am actually something. Maybe if my name makes this guy walk on water, iska matlab hai ki I have something. Wow, chalo. So the Guru goes out. He decides, well, if he can do it, of course I can do it. Mera naam se hi ho gaya. So he walks out onto the lake and he sinks. And I love this story. The moral of the story, of course, is that it's the faith. What kept this guy afloat was not actually the name of his imperfect guru, but it was his perfect faith. His perfect faith. And so even though the Guru himself couldn't walk on water, the disciple could, because of his perfect faith. There's actually another story, I'll end with this, that the other story begins the same way. Disciple goes to the Guru. This time it doesn't say ki Guru was enlightened or not enlightened. Just says disciple goes to the Guru. And he also says, I want to walk on water. And this Guru says, okay, and he takes a leaf and he writes something. And he hands it to the disciple. And he says, in this leaf, is the mantra, the power for walking on water. But whatever you do, don't open it. If you open it, all of its power will go away. So you have to keep it closed in your hand and go out and walk on the water. So the disciple, in his full faith for his guru, he goes out, he holds this leaf, and he's walking. And he's walking across the lake. And he's so excited. He thinks, my God, my guru really has this power. But then his curiosity gets the best of him. And he thinks, I need to know, what is this? What is this mantra? What is this power that it's keeping me afloat? And he opens the leaf, and as he opens it, he starts to sink. And just before he actually goes underwater, his eyes catch a glimpse of finally what's written in the leaf, which is faith. And so it's the power of the guru, and it's the power of our faith. So if you are blessed enough to have a guru who really is enlightened, and there are many, so don't despair. There are many. I've been blessed to find one. There are many. So if you are blessed enough to find one, in which you have the power of the enlightened perfect master and you have the power of your faith, nothing like it. But even if not, don't worry, because that power of your faith should be so strong that even in the face of an imperfect master, your faith should be enough to keep you afloat. So don't lose your faith in God just because the vessel was not perfect. Okay? Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow for a wonderful evening.